Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Hey, everyone. Before we get started with the show, I'm excited to announce two things. First is that my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, is now live on Amazon. So go get it. The second thing is we have a new sponsor, Qualified.com. I'm going to tell you about them in the next couple seconds here, and also how you can get a free copy of my book thanks to them. So who are these people? Well, Qualified is the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Sales reps can have real-time personalized conversations with who? Your hottest website visitors. So I want you to know, I don't just partner with anyone. I genuinely love these guys, and the platform, we use it at my company. Our sales team loves it. We've closed a lot of deals based on it, had a lot of great conversations with prospects too. So, a lot of marketing these days is what? Hurry up and wait, right? Fill out this form. And then if we pass you over to sales, maybe you'll swap 6 emails with them to find a good time to talk. But what if a prospect is doing research right now and they would chat now? Why not give them the opportunity? So the best part is your company actually decides what leads are worth a live chat. There's a lot of noise out there. You don't want to talk to everyone. So Qualified actually connects to Salesforce and Pardot, and it's able to pull in lead and contact information so you can specifically know if you're talking to a VIP, a VP, a decision maker. It's really kind of like magic. Now, if you don't know who someone is, well, what happens then, Casey? Well, that's when the bots come in handy. Chatbots can then ask, questions to further qualify a lead, find out if maybe this is someone you do want to talk to. And they can book meetings while your sales team is out. And they can wake up the next morning with a bunch of meetings on their calendar. Now, here's the promo. If you are a company that wants to give your sales team this ability, right, to be able to talk to decision makers right when they're on your website, do this. Go to qualified.com and start a chat, right? They use their own tool, of course. Start a chat. Tell them that Casey sent you. If you have Salesforce Pardot, when you schedule and then do a demo, they will send you a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Not bad, right? Well, it's only while supplies last. So hop on this thing today. And that's it for sponsors. Let's get to the show. And we're live. It's a snowy day, at least out my window. And man, this is going to be an exciting one. We have back for the second time one of our most popular podcasts. We talked about the replies that get huge deliverability. We talked about all sorts of interesting things. My guest today is so many things. He's a digital marketing and a customer service expert. He is a Facebook ad ninja. He's also a marketing strategist from the B2B and the B2C side. And he really, his strength is where the crossover, what we can learn from him on the B2B side, what he leverages on the B2C side. It's all about that considered sale. And so I love chatting with him. He's a great friend. He's a father of 6, which is a challenge unto itself. Director of Business Dev at Classic Photographers, Keith Phillips. Welcome back.
Hey, how you doing, Casey? Thanks for having me.
Good.
I was just thinking, I think last time we did this, we both had these like massive beards. And now we're like clean
really?
shape. I think so. Yeah.
We'll have to look at that. We'll have to put like a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, beards and then probably, 20 plus pounds heavier for both of us. So yeah, I'd say we're, it's spring cleaning, but it's winter now. It's like, it's literally snowing out the window right now. Do you have a window near you? Or?
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Still snowing. Yeah.
So for people listening at this particular time, we're both up here in New Hampshire. It is a snowstorm where they canceled school yesterday. They're like, it's coming, so we're canceling.
Yeah, that's what they do now. It's not like when we were kids.
Yeah, when we were kids, they kind of wait and see. But that's not too bad.
Yeah.
And we're really good at clearing the streets too. So I mean, the streets look pretty good. So
yeah, for sure.
What can you say? But I digress. We're here to talk about a bunch of things today. We're going to get into email deliverability. You had a challenge, and you spent lots of time diving into it. So anyone that sends emails is going to want to listen to this episode. We're going to get down and dirty on email deliverability. We're also going to talk about chat, conversational marketing, and just geek out on marketing because you've been here before. So this is like the alumni sesh here. And but let's follow tradition. Let me grab this. Start every show the way we start by passing you this hammer. Thor's hammer. Here you go.
Right, here we go.
Did we have Thor's hammer last time?
We did not. We had a virtual hammer.
We had a virtual hammer.
I still have a virtual hammer.
We have a real one now. So take that hammer and smash some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception.
Yeah. So since we're talking about a little bit today about email deliverability, I want to smash the myth that the size of your list matters. So the size of your list does not matter. Now, of course, it matters a little bit, right? Of course, you want the more leads, the better, right? We're always lead gen. But when it comes to email deliverability, it's going to be about what you do with that list that matters. It's not like it used to be where you cast a wide net, email them all and hope for the best.
Right.
You know, the email service providers have gotten very good at filtering out things that are spam and things that aren't even spam that look like spam. So,
right.
So now it's up to you and how you control your list and how you send your list and how you interact with your list more than it is the size of your list, because it's all about the amount of people you can get in front of and not just sending mass emails and hoping for the best. So.
Got it. So that whole, let me get a gigantic list, spray and pray kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're on to us there. We can't just do the status quo. What are people still doing that? And tell us about the situation that happened to you as well.
Sure. So I've considered myself a very good email marketer for probably close to 12 years now. And and all different strategies, you know, following trends, paying attention. And about the spring, you know, we've acquired about the biggest lead list we had ever had through various means. So all different types of lead sources, all piling into one area. And, you know, really the whole industry went through a change. Yahoo was the first and Hotmail that really made major changes that landed more people than I think they thought into spam folders. And then that was about March of this year, and followed up by, you know, Google kind of went through the same path about a month or two later. So, you know, email service providers like, you know, we use Infusionsoft or Keep, but I know everywhere, you know, whether it's, you know, Pardot, HubSpot, you know, all scrambling, all contacting each other. What can we do? Because Yahoo had bounced so many emails that was all their emails were bouncing back because all the inboxes were filling up. So we kind of had to panic because we were heavily into email marketing at this point at the size of our list. And, you know, one thing, you know, I did a lot of reading, like, you know, what changed? How can we approach that?
Hold on a second. Let me just dive in real quick. So like Yahoo just like changed the rules of the game?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so big email senders were ending up with so many bounces that it was just everything was bouncing back. And we even had emails of people emailing us landing in our own spam folder. So people replying to emails from emails that we sent landing in our spam folder. And it wasn't something we were checking daily. So I'd even recommend checking your spam folder because
your spam folder.
Yeah. Okay. Not something I'd ever experienced in my life, where we send out a promotional email, somebody replies to it with positive responses even, and it lands in our spam folder. So even if you're using some sort of service, you know, to send your emails through, I'd go back to your original, you know, whether you're using, you know, G Suite or whatever it might be, and checking your spam folder there, and just make sure you're not, because that's money, right? People replying to your emails wanting to do business with you. So all kinds of funky stuff I had never experienced was happening to our email.
You got me all in. Like that spam folder is the dark jungle, but you know.
So I just got in the habit of checking all my spam folders almost daily, just taking a quick peek and making sure we didn't miss anything. And I could see that over there now, right? You're looking at your spam folder right now as we talk, aren't you?
Yeah, and you can see me just like not paying attention to you at all anymore. Yeah. So I'm like chasing a little light on the wall like a cat.
Yeah. So at that time, you know, what I always think is, you know, I may know a lot and I might have done a lot, but I'm not the best. So I actually, you know, contacted a deliverability expert and got his opinion. And that just got me jump started on this wide world of needing to learn more and more about deliverability as the rules have changed, because there's always someone paying closer attention to it than you are. And so we've learned a lot since then and changed a lot of things. And I'd love to share some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get out of my spam box here because there's some people offering me some pills.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So yeah, so you did all this research and you
Yeah.
hired some wizards. I mean, it's always good to do that, right?
Yeah.
We're experts in certain things, but I love the idea of just hiring someone who's just a pro at like a specialist, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and even myself, you know, you want to learn from those people and not just hire them to do things. You want to learn and grow yourself so you can understand what's going on. And
Right.
so for so long, so I start off by busting the myth, like it's not about the size of the list. It's what you do with it. And,
Yeah.
you know, we kind of changed our mentality from, you know, at the end of the day, I just want to know how many total opens I have. Like, so an open percentage is great, right? And click through is great. And you want to watch that number. But let's say we decided, you know, we need to sunset our leads a little sooner. Meaning we're not going to email them past, you know, industry standards been 6 months. You know, we were kind of at the 8 months, given that the industry we're in, people kind of linger for a while. So we put a hard line at 6, and then even sunsetting some leads as early as 3 or 4 months, because now what's happening is you just don't want all that negative impact on your IP, on your domain, you know, of people not opening your email. So that game really changed the way Google is looking at it. And so we looked at it, geez, we're going to email less people. So obviously our open rate may be better, but what we want to really look for is total opens. So, you know, we want to increase our total opens, because if I email 10 people, right, and 8 of them open, and those 10 people are really hot leads, I know I can get an 80% open rate, which is unheard of, but let's just use that fictional.
Sure.
You know, so 80% is great, but I only reached 8 people. So now if we're talking about 10,000 people, I want, you know, if I have a 50% open rate, well, that's 5,000 opens. So that was one mentality shift I really had to make, is I want to watch my total opens, not just the open rate, and increase that total open amount.
Tell me more about that, because I kind of got lost in that.
Sorry.
I want to look at percent. No, it's not you.
I get excited to start geeking out about
me.
everything going
I've
through
only
my
had
mind.
like a third of this coffee so far.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And an early morning workout, so I'm complete rubbish in my brain right now. But okay, so the percentage versus the total opens. You previously had you just looked at percentage?
Mostly because we really weren't changing the amount of people we emailed. So when you know, I started to panic, like, geez, I don't want to stop emailing these people because they might buy. That does happen, right? Someone doesn't open your email for who knows how long.
Totally.
Maybe it was ending in the promotion folder, and they finally opened their I know me, like in my personal Gmail, I don't really look through my promotions folder ever, unless like just one day I randomly, let's see what's happening over here. Yeah. And they're finally like, oh man, I wish I was seeing these emails, right? And you move them on over. So, you know, always in my mind, it's like, well, we want to kind of keep emailing those people, even if it's once a month. And that may be true. But when all this happened, I said, you know, we just need to deliver better. We need to have a better domain reputation. And let's just sunset people a little earlier, which is kind of disheartening, right? If you have a list of 500,000 and you're consistently emailing them every month, now you're like, oh, this month, let's only email 350. That's a tough decision to make. But, you know, you have to focus on increasing the amount of opens for the people that want to do business with you. The people, isn't that the worst when you get an email back like, oh my gosh, I wish I saw this sooner. You've been in my spam folder for the last 3 months. Like, that is the worst feeling, right? So how do we fix that? And I wish I had all the perfect solutions, but you know, we're going to try everything we could to make sure that wasn't happening.
Got it. So was part of the logic then, the people that didn't open, you were less interested in just continuing to blast them. You were more interested in the people that did open. And did you start like segmenting in a different way so that the opens would go into like the active group, and the folks who aren't opening, you're going to sunset them sooner?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, for the last 5-6 years, probably we've been segmenting based on lead source, right? Because I think we talked about that last podcast, like making sure your message is consistent. So you remember where they came from. I met you at a trade show. I met you here. You came through my Facebook ad, whatever. And studying those different segments. But now we were taking those segments and splitting them up even more and sending them, you know, so I might have Facebook, but then I have Facebook, you know, engaged with us in the last month, engaged 3 months ago, engaged 6 months ago, engaged never, you know, and really breaking out email sequences based on not just lead source, but also engagement and when was the last time they engaged with us. And then of course, if they engaged, they're going to go right back into a more rapid sequence that acknowledges the fact that you've engaged, right? I think we talked about that too, right? Like acknowledging what they're doing in your funnel, and so the same could be said for email. I mean, you could be as blunt as saying, hey, I noticed you opened my last email, but didn't take X action.
Right.
What can I do to help you,
Right.
move forward or whatnot?
I think I'm getting it right. So
Yeah.
so it's no longer just blast away and try to keep that overall percentage up, because you could get smarter about it. And this expert advised you, and it's like, okay, if you're not engaging, you go in this other group, and we're going to treat you differently. Maybe do you do like a wake up thing where it's like, okay, these people aren't even alive. Let's see if they are. Let's try to shock them in their system with a crazy subject or something.
Yeah, we used to do one. It didn't work as well as I thought, but somebody
No.
sent it to me once, and then we used to do this. Have you been abducted by aliens? Subject line. And,
Really?
yeah, we get some really cool, at least engagement, like some laughs. Yeah, so yeah, we'd call that a re-engagement campaign. If it's someone that we've sent SMS with in the past, maybe we'll send them an SMS. We'll send them a text message, say, hey, I noticed you haven't opened any of my emails. Are you still interested? And then, so not to diverge too much, but that was another part of our, kind of new strategy. We had always done it, but I changed the wording. So whenever someone opts in through a web form, anywhere where I'm also collecting their phone number, I'm going to send them a text message right away that says, hey, I sent you an email with information about X, let me know if you have questions. I don't give them the information in the text message because I want them to go find that email and engage with it. Because that tells the email, that tells Gmail, it tells Google, hey, this person's interested in receiving emails from Keith. So let me continue to make sure those end up in his inbox. So we want them to go and fish for that email. So pull it out of their junk folder. We'll even say that, like, it may have landed in your spam folder. Go in, pull it out, drop it in your primary box, and let's continue this conversation. And then we'll send another text like that about a week later with the new, hey, I sent you information following up about X, did you see my email? And they say, no. I say, hey, go back. That's when now someone takes over, says, no, it's in you. It may have been in your spam folder. I'll resend it, but maybe you want to go find it. And so, we're getting people to go and find that email and pull it out, to let Gmail know, hey, we're having a real conversation here. Please stop sending this.
Oh, that helps.
Stop sending it to promotions. You don't want to be in promotions either, right? So.
Oh, yeah. So like you're calling their attention to the inbox so you can kind of win that back. That's cool.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Did you hear the episode with Rachel Allen?
I did not. No. Let me write that down.
Yeah. Alan Edwin Holmes. No, it's not Rachel. It's Rachel White. Right. It's Alan Edwin Holmes.
Okay.
You definitely got to check that one out. I'll introduce you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys sound like your marketing like cousins or like spiritual friends here, because what they do at Alan Edwin is they will apparently hit you up 100 times within the first month of when they first find you, and they're going to try it on like multiple different channels. And I was like, 100, was it 100 or was it 1,000? I don't know. That's a Casey zero. Either way, it's a lot. and so, but I was like, really? Yeah, they're gonna get phone calls, they're gonna get texts, they're gonna get emails, they're gonna get web chat, they're gonna get direct mail, and whichever one they want to engage with, they can, and they'll just follow the pattern that way. But
for sure,
yeah, I'll definitely check her out, and I'll connect you guys. It was kind of a cool episode.
All right, awesome.
I love the combination of different mediums, especially if Google and Yahoo are making things difficult for us. You mentioned earlier the re-engagement campaign didn't work out as well for you as you thought. Any commentary on that?
Well, so we'll do a closer re-engagement campaign, right? Like, so, like I said, that week later, we want to make sure that they're engaging. But yeah, look, it's always worth doing a re-engagement campaign if you get one person back. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, there's probably some serious reasons why they haven't engaged with you. But you want to, a phone call, right. You want to try everything you can, but if it's been 6 months and they just aren't engaging, they're probably not interested and you're ruining your reputation. So why do that? Because now you're ruining the chances of landing in front of the people that do want to hear from you. And look, It's a hard leap to make. There used to be, I think it was Ezra Firestone I heard once say, like, just keep emailing them until they tell you they don't want to hear from you anymore. And that was a very industry, wide standard of like email them until they say opt out and make it easy for them to opt out, right? That's always what we want to do. Make it easy for them to opt out. So when they want to opt out, they can, and that's it. But it just doesn't work that way anymore. If you keep emailing them and they're not opening, they could mark you spam too. But Gmail, Google will see like they're not opening, so this is not good. And they see that enough. Now your reputation with them gets hurt. And you can watch all this with Google has a really great Postmasters tools. Just you attach it to your DNS, and you can watch your reputation. Which isn't everything, right? Because it's also, you want to watch your spam rate, and like you might have a low reputation, but you have a low spam rate, and you have a lot of other good things going for you. But it's good to watch these things.
Right. Postmaster tools. We'll definitely check that out. That's a cool
Yeah.
tip. I'd heard of Webmaster tools. But
Yeah.
Postmaster makes sense too.
So this is Google Postmasters. They're specific. And I know for us, I think 53% of our leads are all in Gmail. So, and that's probably true for almost everybody these days. More than half your leads are Gmail leads. So
either Gmail or, Google Suite or what.
Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly. Well, it all falls under that same category. It's a Google email address, and then the rest of your 50% is all divided up between whatever, either, role emails, business emails, Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL. Comcast is awful. That's where you're going to find spam traps. Yeah. So
Outlook.
Yeah.
Huh. Exactly. You mentioned Ezra Firestone saying just blast them till they turn blue. Grant Cardone had said that same thing in a conference one time. And it was kind of like an eye roll from the whole marketing audience, because you just knew it's like, okay, that's why we don't let sales play with email. And so when there are tools that allow sales to blast out email, it's like, well, we want to limit their ability to send quantity, because that's just not it. And now it's probably a good thing to see that Google's shutting down on that. When I was checking that spam earlier, I don't know what you said, but I was checking my spam at the time, and I saw this one email series where someone had emailed me 6 times, but it was like spam, like checking in, you still there? I still haven't heard from you. Still hadn't. I'm like, I'm glad that didn't ever see the light of day. That's 6 emails. And to your point, Google might as well stick up for itself and see like, okay, we're spending all this time segmenting these emails off. They're definitely not getting read. And we see that across 1 million users. Let's start deducting points from this guy, and they're going to get less and less through automatically.
And checking my own spam folder, like I've seen that, like, even if, like, let's say there's something you see I'm guilty of this, right? I'll get an email from a certain conference or somebody I follow, and I just, I don't read them every day. I just don't have time. But I'm that kind of neurotic person. I like my inbox to be clean. So I just either, I mark it red, or I just delete. And then when I'm checking my spam folder, I'm like, oh man, I didn't want this guy's to go to my spam. I might want to read it someday. So then I'll pull it out. So you can see that magic happening. The longer you start to ignore emails from somebody, they'll end up in your spam folder, even if you didn't want them to,
Really?
And, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's a good tip.
So like, that's another reason I check my own spam folder. So one other point I wanted to mention before I totally forgot, because I didn't even write in my notes, but something you said made me think of it, is definitely clean your list. Clean your list, scrub your list. I've now twice, and now we do it all the time with every lead coming in. We use a program called Clean 13. You could set up automation with their API, or you can upload your list, and they'll pull out, I think it's like 9 different categories. So they'll pull out spam traps. They'll pull out, people that, are marked as complainers, like they often, mark things spam. They'll verify email addresses. Those are your good ones. They'll mark role email. So like a role email would be like, Keith@sales.com or sales@keith.com, right? So those, you just don't know, because that can change hands and go to somebody else. So one person opted in, they leave their job, the next person inherits that email, right? So, so it breaks all these down. So not only do we segment into engagement, but in some cases on our larger segments, we'll segment into like, verified email addresses, role email addresses, I'm trying to think of, so there's some of those categories that we want to email because, we feel it's a real email address, but we want to be careful with. Whereas like a verified, engaged, it's a verified email, so I highly recommend cleaning your list. And even if you don't do it with every lead that comes through, which we do, I'd recommend doing it, at least every 3 to 4 months, just running a general scrub on your whole list. So,
right. To really protect yourself from emailing people that are just the complainers. I think you mentioned that at coffee the other day, and that's what kind of stirred on. We got to get on this on the air, is because yeah, if you don't take a chance on the people that are most likely to flag spam. That's me, by the way. It's almost like a marketing thing. When I get really atrocious spam, I'm just like, I need to punish them.
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's not fair to me.
I'm a spam judge, right? I'm like, no,
Yeah,
you are bad, and I punish it. But if it's
yeah,
really good, hey, right, we'll keep it. We'll learn from it. But usually it's like punish, punish, punish. So I would probably show up on that complainer list. I'd hope
yeah.
I would. I hope I earn a place there.
Well, and simple things like incomplete email addresses, right? Like, how
Yeah.
many times am I typing and I type something out wrong? So you want to make sure that whatever service you're using is finding those. And if they're not, you might want to plug something in like Clean 13 where they do a .con or a .co, where someone types their email address in wrong. That's going to negatively, because that's going to bounce,
You
and
got to
they're
bounce.
watching your bounces.
Yeah.
Your bounces hurt your reputation as well. So
Absolutely. And those of us listening on that are on Pardot, if you do a bad job of bounces, or a bad job of spam complaints, like the mothership will call
yeah,
you on it. They will reach out and say, "How did you acquire these?" And they'll throw some random prospects at you and be like, "Okay, spam cops are here. What are you doing?"
yeah, and
You
you
don't want
definitely
that phone call, you know?
no, especially spend all that time getting your account set up. The last thing you want to do is have them shut down your emails for a time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've had someone that wanted to come on to Pardot, and we are talking to him about migrating him on there, because HubSpot was kicking him off for
yeah,
spamming. Like,
yeah,
well,
oh, yeah.
what do you think is going to happen when you come over to here at Pardot? Like, they're not just going to let you do the same thing you did there.
Right,
Go
right.
call someone in another country,
Yeah,
set you up a rogue black email server or something.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
So, I mean, look, and you can't. I used to kind of tease, or in my mind at least, older people are like, well, this used to work for me. I don't understand why it doesn't work anymore. Look, and marketing changes, right? So you can't just keep doing what you were doing and expect the same results. You have to keep up. There was a time, right? Like probably
Yep.
15 years ago, you got yourself a constant contact account, and you just sent, hundreds of thousands of emails, and it worked out for you, for a while until you got blacklisted. And
Yeah.
it happens so much quicker now. One, it even, so you got to look at subject lines. We didn't even get to that content of your email. And so just the reputation of a single email you send, right? So if you're sending like automated emails, you can harm the reputation of that one specific email you're sending. It's that specific these days. It's not just,
Really?
yeah. So I think it's HubSpot has a great list of, if you Google, they have a great list of spam trigger words.
Hmm.
And it's even separated out by industry. Now I sent this to like my marketing manager once. I'm like, check this out when you're writing the next email. And she's like, I don't know if I could use any words in the email with this list they sent you, but, kind of things we always knew, but this is a pretty good comprehensive list. And, so you want to train the ESPs like that this is a good email. So a lot of times what we do is if I have a really well copywritten email, I'm going to send it to my most engaged emails first and let them engage with it. And then I'm going to send to my, kind of next coldest, segment after, like a day later. Because now the ESPs have already saw this email and said, this is a good email. People open this. I want to make sure this delivers.
Seriously?
Yeah, so that actually is a theory, and I believe it's a good working theory, and it doesn't hurt. So whereas if I'd sent that same email to all, the whole segment all at once, I'm going to get a mixed bag of bounces of,
Interesting.
yeah. So you want to send your emails to your most engaged emails first, put a timer on that bad boy, and get the next segment sent out a day later or a few hours later even.
Right.
Where, again, Google will see it and be like, oh, this email gets a lot of engagement. This is a solid email. Let's make sure we deliver this through. So there's so much, I think AI and thought that goes into how they want to deliver emails these days, because email, has turned, I think Google, Yahoo has looked at it and said, emails turned into this, just like, remember our mailboxes 20 years ago, physical mailboxes where you pull out all this junk mail and you just didn't even look at your mail. Well, emails kind of turned into that, and they're trying to keep email a viable source of communication. So there's a lot of thought on their end to this. So we gotta think like them. What's going to look like a real personal email
Right.
that's going to get delivered.
Yeah, you mentioned that HubSpot list, and I looked, and I wonder. I didn't see the sources yet, but I wondered. I'd seen one from this group called Snovio, SNOV. .io. I'm not sure if it's like .io,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they had this like 500 spam trigger words thing, and I actually read it one day, just because that's what we do. We do weird, goofy things in marketing, right?
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
And nothing better to do. So I didn't read word for word, but I kind of just scanned the whole thing, and it's actually very interesting. Like, I kind of recommend people do that just to see the variety of words that you may or may not be using. And then it's kind of like, to your point, like you could accidentally, unintentionally look like you're one of those bad people. Something like 45% of all emails are spam, right? So it's like you
Sure, yeah.
can very easily look like spam just from a few careless actions. And one of the things that always stood out to me from that list was the unintended metaphors, right? Where we get kind of creative in marketing, and like, hey, is your lead generation broken? Do you have a broken bone? You know, are your lead generations ill? Or are you sick? I've got the medicine that will help you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then, like, using this metaphor, like a medical metaphor, because it's clever. But then that, using, like, pretending to be medical, suddenly now you look like all the emails offering blue pills and green pills and orange pills from your words. And so I was like, okay, don't role play medical or finance,
Yes,
because
right, yeah.
those are the two that most people are getting spam on those regards. So you'll inadvertently look like those kind of bad players out in the internet.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's a really great point. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah,
You
because,
think you're
like,
being clever, like people are like,
yeah,
oh yeah, yeah, my emails are yeah.
yeah.
You would think that would get a great open rate and you'd be all excited about it, and then it just lands in everybody's spam folder. So yeah.
There's some Marketo partner called Lead MD, and they're doctors, and sometimes they'll wear these lab coats around conferences. Kind of annoying. Sorry, Lead MD.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh god, or CRM Science, and they'll wear these things. But you got to wonder, like, are half their email campaigns going to spam just because they're playing along with their own medical motif for the whole
Right, right.
company, and their website and everything they're linking to. Hey, get healed, get well soon. It'd be fun, but then you don't realize behind the scenes, Google's like, oh, that it's just like, oh, that looks like spam.
So I always think, we talked about this last time, the best way to write an email for the most part, sit down and write it as if you were writing it. Like, I'm not a great
Yeah.
copywriter. I'll be the first to say that. I'm not even good at writing or spelling, any of those things. So I use a lot of spell check, but like, I just sit down and write it like I was writing it to a friend or a colleague,
Right.
and that's what's going to deliver. And that's what people want to read,
Yep.
they don't want to read a sales pitch.
Right.
In fact, like, you should just keep your email brief. The goal is to get them to your website. Let them get all their information on your website, not from this email you're sending. Some people just treat their email like a landing page, and
Yeah.
there are some truths to that, right? Google will also watch like how long someone spends on an email. If
Really?
they click on it. Yeah, so that's why you see a lot of people doing like double and a half spacing these days. Is you want people, especially if you think
No.
about mobile. I left my phone in another room so I wouldn't get distracted, but like, you want people like scrolling through your email, so
What?
yeah, so they watch that. They watch, like, do people pause? Are they reading it? How long is the email open for? Do they mark it important? All those things. So think about yourself. Like, if you got an email you really wanted to read, you would spend some time looking through it, right? If you had the time.
Yeah.
So they watch that. They watch the amount of time people are scrolling, especially on mobile, right? And clicks, and there's just all these details about emails you got to think through. No amount of URLs you have. Do the URLs match your sender URL?
Yeah.
How many hyperlinks do you have? All those things.
I feel like, I don't know if you've had this experience. I don't know if you have like a PlayStation or one of those like game systems at home.
Sure. Yeah, I have a PlayStation.
So, oh yeah, that's the way to go, right? All
Yeah,
the
yeah,
way. PS4. But like, you try to play one of those new games, or like when like some kid comes to show it to you, or you just get like the latest version. Like, I remember, like, even Madden, the football game, I remember playing like the old school one, and you're like, yeah, you can handle it. But then now it's like, okay, you've got two sticks, you've got all the keys, and you got triggers.
yep.
And when you're a receiver, it's a totally different control panel, like control set. When you're a runner, when you're this, it is all constantly changing. And I felt like, oh man, this is one of those times where you're either gonna be like, I'm old, I can't handle this, or I'm like mold my brain to adopt it. I'm realizing in the old days, you're right. Like you just sent the email. You didn't worry about all these little things. Maybe you did for
Right.
SEO for web pages, but now that Google's looking at our inboxes and they're making it better for us, all those spam I didn't get, but now we got to think that extra layer of things about our emails.
And you just said perfect. I never heard it put this way. Maybe you can have SEO for emails. I mean, that's really what it is. It's
Oh,
like,
sick. Let's
yeah,
trademark it
yeah,
quick.
yeah. It's like SEO for emails. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All that effort and time we put in SEO, we should put into our emails as well.
MEO, mailbox.
MEO,
What is it?
mailbox
Mailbox.
engagement optimization.
There we go.
We
We're
could do
inventing
that.
stuff.
Yeah,
We'll have a con. MEO
yeah,
con. We'll have a
yeah.
contest. Hey, and if you're
Absolutely.
out there and you listen to this, hey, free idea. Just invite both of us and give us free
Yeah,
tickets. Don't charge us for the tickets because we invented it.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what else I found from that list was like free. Free will like cost you. You know,
Yes.
it was like the takeaway I had. Anytime you're like, oh, this free, that free. The thing is like we assume a lot of this, especially in the B2B world or even a lot of the marketing, we assume most things are free. Like a webinar, like you don't need to say a free webinar because
Good point.
I can't remember the last time I paid for a webinar or if what I ever would. So why say free? All you're doing is now looking like one of those other guys or gals that are sending out, oh, get your free thing here. And they actually are scammers, you know, just
Yeah.
leaving off that word, leaving off the cost if it's not really a conversation.
That's a good point because most of our lead magnets are these, giving away free whatever. Or giveaway is
Yeah.
another word. You really can't use giveaway.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many, you could try to use synonyms for free and it's just not going to help you. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Obviously a webinar's free. I mean, people charge for webinars, but you could say like, I think I found like On Us. Well, that wouldn't work for a webinar,
Well,
but
what I'm saying is like default
yeah,
is it's not a charge. So if it is a
yeah, right,
charge,
right.
you should say it. But if
That's
it's
right.
not, then
Yeah, yeah.
or like a white paper or like a PDF or a download or something, free case study. Well, they probably should be free,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I'm not paying for a case study. Yeah.
Right. Or
That's
like
good.
the now, like the free and the now of like, do this now. And I think we're all trying to make a sense of urgency, but it can be troubling because sometimes those, the email spammers out there are also the ones saying like, click this now. Do you use now? Do you use like time sensitive things in your emails?
We do. A lot of our sales happen for the month, but we don't use the word now. We say by the end of the month, and I
Yeah.
think that that's fine.
Yeah, I
Or
think so
or
too.
or
Yeah.
by a specific date, so you can use merge fields. So like we'll say by the 31st of X month, the 30th of it. I
Right.
mean, again, that's real. Whereas like I think consumers are smart enough too that if you're using a very generic now or this week or something, that you're like, okay, is this real? But when you use a specific date and a time, by midnight on, December 31st, take some time to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all into automation here, right? But you can't let automation do everything. You got to sit down and keep your content fresh. You can't just set it and forget it. Sort of another myth, right? It's something we all wanted to do, but there
Yeah.
are some, you got to get in there and keep your content fresh. I think monthly, even if it's just fine tuning things. So,
Yeah.
that's something I stay on top of. Yeah. Yeah, words like click, free, 100%. Like I was looking through that list like this before we came on here, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, there's so many. I got to go through this again because I'm sure I used that word somewhere. So
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, just write emails. I mean, you were saying that you weren't good
yeah,
at copywriting, but uh, you know, probably the people that think they're good at it are really bad because
right,
if you're just writing a note to another person and let's say it's terrible, but it sounds authentic, that'll probably get a lot more results like that email you shared last time. A lot more results with just a personal, imperfect email than like the most pretty shined up marketing email.
yeah, absolutely. Again, yeah, maybe we talked about this before, but like images in your emails, like sure, like I work for a photography company. We want to put great images in our
Yeah.
emails, but not if it's going to land me in spam. I want to get them
Right.
to the website where the beautiful images are, right? So
Yeah.
so yeah, you just, you
Do
got
you
to
not
think,
put any?
well, we mix it up. If
Okay.
I know I'm getting good engagement, let's throw, because again, if you're getting good engagement, you can almost, I don't want to say send them anything, but those people engaging, you're going to probably end up in their inbox. Because
Right.
if I send you a personal email today, Casey, with like a bunch of pictures of my family, it's not going to go to your spam folder because
Right.
you and I have emailed back and forth, and Google says, well, these guys are having a conversation. Let's continue that. So
Right.
so you got to just think of it like that. But if it's a cold email to a cold lead that hasn't responded to you in a month, like though, that's really where you want to, use that 8-word email to re-engage again. Although I have rethought my 8-word email since you and I last talked.
Yeah, what's your update?
Well, just that I've read this a few times that, and again, I don't know if it's true, but I hear people saying it, that you want people to spend more time on your email. So if it's just one sentence, I think, email service providers have gotten kind of hip to the fact that some people are sending these like 8-word type emails, and that's not necessarily absolutely a real email. So, instead of maybe one sentence, let's add a second or third sentence and space it out a little bit and get them to spend more time on that rather than opening it up and saying no and closing it. So I don't know. I'm just kind of toying with it right now, split testing it to see if that makes any difference. But just something to keep in mind that, again, the amount of time they spend with your email open may matter as well, from what I understand. Versus just like a quick open, look at it and close it. Like that's not going to get the same feedback as taking the time to sit and read through an email, spending a minute with it open versus 10 seconds,
Right. But doesn't that seem like old school SEO or where like I remember Google Analytics, like time on page,
right?
People got obsessed over time on page, but then, and this was a metric, if you're listening, if you're not familiar, it just said how long someone spent on any given page. And you would see aggregates of like, oh, most people spend the most on this page. But there were all these underlying what ifs, like what if they're just lost? Or what if they just can't find what they're looking for? Or they got bored and now they're on a different tab.
Or on the other hand, or on the other hand, your page did what it was supposed to do and got them to take action and move to the next page, right?
Right.
Why should I be punished for that?
They clicked checkout and they went to the next page. So that was actually the most efficient page ever.
Yeah.
But no, we got to increase time on page. So those metrics always kind of like ticked me off. But it's interesting. I wonder if, we're sort of in this juvenile stage with email where we're kind of going through the same motions. Because, if you sent me an email saying, or like, if, we texted earlier because the snow delay, if I sent you an email being like, hey, let's push that start time of the podcast back by 15, you cool with that? And you're like, okay, right? That's like real conversation.
Sure.
So yeah, but I'm sure
that's why I'm split testing it. I mean, I've read this 2 times and I'm like, it does make sense. In theory, it makes sense, right? They want you to prove you're reading the email, not just like, some email programs you're swiping through them, right? Like, and you're like, okay, this isn't interesting to me. So they see that quick 2-second swipe through your email as like lack of interest. So it makes sense to me to say like, okay, they stopped and read this email, but who knows how long that metric is. They're changing their metrics monthly now, I think, to really make sure that email is not a dying service, which is good for us, right? It might make us look at what we're doing and change it. But that's a good thing. We want our emails to get delivered and not be stuck with all those fake medical pill emails. And we want to be in the inbox, and we want the real spammers and spam. So we have to be appreciative of what they're doing, but we have to be mindful of it.
Right. And I think, back to, as long as you're sending something of value, it's actually going to be helpful to the person receiving it, that's how it is with SEO, in my opinion, right? SEO now is just like write good content, that's helping people out, and it's gonna show up more and more and more.
Right.
You can try to spam it, but like the days are numbered of being a link farm or anything like that. It's just like write good stuff, be helpful. That's
right.
Be a centerpiece. Yeah. Sweet, man. You mentioned earlier the email subscriptions, and it sounds like maybe do you get some? Do you are there any ones you like to subscribe to?
Geez, you really put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I try to, I follow Digital Marketer a lot. They have a lot of good content.
Okay.
And I'm always amazed, actually. I see their subject lines and I'm like, how did this get in my inbox? So, that gets me. I just like to, I follow a lot of different people. Digital Marketer is probably my favorite. They spend a lot of time on this. And, like I said, there's things that I would think would land in a spam box that they're landing to you, obviously based on the fact, like, I'm opening their emails, reading it, and like, but I think that's a great thing. I saw somebody say on Black Friday, do you want to see how your emails will, or Cyber Monday, let's say in our case, right? Which emails, just look at, last year's not always a good, but you could look at what you've gotten this year so far. Just search Cyber Monday and see who landed in your inbox and what did they write, you could always learn from what other people are doing. So, I may not always take the time to read all the emails from things I subscribe to, but I will, at least like have them there and take a quick look, and I'm like, oh, that's a good subject line, and I write it down or forward it to myself or put it somewhere where I could take it from. But yeah, I like Digital Marketer. They're a good one.
Good
They
one.
send
I
a
think
lot
I
of great.
get their spam.
Yeah, they're always selling. That's the thing. But if you look at their actual content, they're always landing in my inbox. So
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, that's a good point. Even notice, like for people listening, like just notice what gets in your inbox maybe today.
yeah,
Just start noticing what gets in, what shows up in what tab too. And if you get a promotion, ends up in your straight up regular inbox. Notice that. Like be more intentional, pay more attention to where emails are landing, which ones are landing where, and check out that spam box for sure. Have you heard of a guy named Ed Nevermont?
oh, it sounds familiar. Yeah,
He's going to be coming on here. We had to reschedule a couple times, but I got on his email list, and I pretty much I'm not a fan of anyone else's email list because they're usually. I mean, I get it. I, I don't think I'll ever offer one. Like what I'll do probably is like a private video list, for people, just because I like doing that. But to take the time to put like really good content down, there's a lot of people, and one I would subscribe to for months, and I never read it, never had time to read it, and it's almost like you blame yourself, like, oh, one day I'll have time, archive. Then I realized, no, I'm just adding like friction to my day. I need to sort of trim this stuff up. But Ed's he's got this thing called Marketing BS, and I don't know, I've only been a subscriber for maybe a month, but he takes the time, he puts images in here and videos, and he attacks stuff that like he brought up the Peloton thing and he analyzed it. And this one I'm looking at right now, he brought up Elon's great unveiling of that Cybertruck.
Right. Yeah.
Had you heard about that?
Yeah. Yep.
The window like smashed. They're like, oh, this thing's indestructible, and they smash it, and then it's like, oh, oops. And there's like this big image of him looking at this truck with 2 smashes in it. But Ed went on to describe it and be like, was that on purpose? Was that good? Was that bad? But he really like breaks through the BS of like just the fluffy stuff, and he puts time to write into this thing. I hope he gets business out of it, because, or whatever he's doing it for, he's like a good writer. But real quick, what's your take on that Elon thing? Do you think that was on purpose?
I don't know. You would think so, right? You'd think he'd really know what he's doing. But even if it wasn't, it got a lot of people talking about it, right?
Yeah, that's what he was saying in the email, was that like it got people talking. I don't think it was on purpose, but I think it's brilliant that if you're Elon Musk and you're so, I don't know, I'm not crazy, but like you're so out there and doing eccentric. That's a good word. That when shit does go wrong, people are like, nah, you planned that, Elon. You're such a smart, you're a badass. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I planned that completely.
That's what you hear people talking about Bill Belichick. Like when things aren't going wrong for the Patriots, they're like, oh, he's just doing it on purpose. He doesn't want to show anything on tape till he gets to the playoffs. It's like the guy can mess up and he's a genius, and it's like, that's how I felt about Elon Musk. It's like, and maybe just the humility of like, oops, this didn't work right. People like to see that too, right? So yeah, I mean, look, we're still talking about it, and it was like 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, well, even more like Steve Jobs. I know he had, iPhone unveilings and whatnot where things would go wrong, but he would do like the death stare at the technician at Apple. and they'd be like fired the next day or something. He'd like lay off the whole department. Like, you're all gone. You couldn't do your job.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They just still talking about a good PR. But yeah, check out Ed's email thread. And he'll be on here at some point when we get him on here. But yeah, it's called Marketing BS. Edward Nevermont, and maybe I'll have him tell me how to say his name. So, that. But yeah, it's that one that I'm like, huh, he really tackles the things that either they're too dangerous to tackle or just really gets to the heart of it. And I kind of appreciate that type of that. But still, it's long. I don't know if I've ever read through the entire one, but I've definitely scanned it and been like, oh, that's really interesting.
You get something out of it.
Yeah, you get something out of it. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Sweet, man. Anything else come to mind on the deliverability before we hop to the other thing I would ask you about?
Not really. Just to look at your content, make sure it's authentic, and let your website do the selling. Just you think about calls to action. Your email has to have a single call to action, right? I mean, maybe you sneak a second one in that has some, just in case, well, they might not be interested in this, but that But at the end of the day, you should, when you're writing an email, what's my call to action? Just like you would with a landing page, right?
Yeah.
And your call to action for your email is always to be to a landing page. Get them to a landing page and let the landing page do the selling for you. Don't try to cram everything into an email, because that's going to hurt you too. So
yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Sold.
Yeah. All right.
Chat. Do you guys use chat? And there's this whole thing. Conversational marketing is the word that's been allocated for it, but it's that resurgence of web chat, and not just the old e-commerce days, but now I've seen it across B2B channels and B2C, B2B, a little bit in between. Are you using it? What do you think?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, we've been using live chat on our website for quite a long time, about 5 years. And
Wow.
for about the last 3 years, we've been very successful with Facebook Messenger and integrating that into a service where you can, set up campaigns. But I will tell you, for everybody watching this, starting January 15th, Facebook just said that you'll no longer be able to send automated campaigns via Facebook Messenger. So you can only follow up in a single conversation with a bot or automation. So that's been very lucrative, and the game's just changed on that. So, and we've recently re-looked at how we, the world is kind of, we've always been live chat, which means you have a real live person there having the conversation. And about the last year, chatbots have become a big thing. And even to the point where I think consumers expect there to be a bot, and not having to wait 5 minutes for a person, and if Drift is a really cool program. We don't use it, but I respect those guys in the program they put together, where it has and what we've done is kind of mirrored some of that, where they start you off with a bot and they let you know it's a bot, and like, this should be more efficient for you, find what you need to find, but if you can't, we have real people here that want to talk to you. So that's sort of been our new direction that we've been going to, because another thing, as marketers, just like when you write an email, imagine you had 30 salespeople and they were all sending the emails themselves manually, all the different crazy answers and information you'd be giving people. So where you can use a bot, you, Casey, you have the best answers in your, for the most part, have the best answers in your company, right? I know you have a lot of great people that work for you.
Yeah, totally.
But you know what I mean, right? Like, if you could always be giving your customers the best, or your clients the best answers, that's what you would want to do. And a chatbot allows you to do that, where you can really refine what is my best answer and for my client, and not be relying on a person that might be new, or they just might not give the right answer. There's so much up and down there. So that's where chatbots really come into play, and I think are not a negative. That a lot of people are kind of afraid of, I want to talk to a real person. But what if you could just get the real answer you wanted to in a conversational fashion, quickly and efficiently, and be giving the right information all the time, but then have a real person there to pick up when they can't answer that. And I think that's really the key to conversational marketing, is that balance between bots and people, having both available.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
because I've been kind of shady and salty on bots lately. But you're right that there is a benefit to it. There's an efficiency to it. You can be rude to a bot. You just leave a website. Like the other day, I hopped on a site to get a price for like this app, and just I wanted to see, like, maybe it's something we can just add on to our marketing. And first there was a bot, and I said hello bot, and then it said, hold on, getting a human. So I was like, okay, weird. And then the human came on, and I was like, hey, I'm just curious on the pricing. And maybe I'm skipping to like comparison shopping now, but I'm skipping from awareness right to like mid-stage bot. Like, what, it wasn't listed on the site too. So I was like, and they're like, well, there's different variables in the pricing. Okay. And then my response was like, okay, that's cool. What are the variables? And can we get to a number in like 5 minutes so I can just know what we're dealing with? And eventually we got to a number, and it was kind of pricey. But it was one of those things where I didn't want to be like, click, bounce, out, peace. I'm sure people don't care. But, it's when it's a person talking, you kind of want to be a little more polite. It's easier to say bye or just click than if you're on the phone, right? If you're on the phone, Okay, great. Have a great day. Have great holidays. Okay, yeah, you too. All right, take care. Okay, take care. Bye. Right? It's this long, protracted
Yeah.
thing. Whereas in chat, you can just be like, "Hi, I need this answer." You can be a little more direct. So I see the efficiency there. But to your point, a bot, maybe I just want to, access the bot if it's built well to be able to get to that answer.
So the way we've approached the bots, mostly with Facebook right now, and I'll tell you about our website after, is if if it can't find the specific answer to that, if we don't feel like if the the algorithm doesn't feel like it can give the good answer, it just automatically goes to a person. Like, and I'm hoping that a
Oh,
person's there. If a person's not there, I'll say I don't have anybody available. Right? You want to say
yeah.
that, but we try to cover as many hours in the day as possible. So if it doesn't read, like, we're programming in specific sentences and the if and then, and
Okay.
if it's not there, we want to err on the side of let's send it to a real person and continue
Right.
the conversation,
Right.
right? On the website, we're sort of testing with, like, here's the top 5 questions. It has 2 buttons. You want to find the answer on yourself, or do you want to talk to a person? So they can
Yeah.
skip right to a person if they want to.
Right.
But what I've actually found, and this has only been in the last 90 days, is that when we tested this, like, let's put the help docs right there in our chat, along with letting them choose a person. Our actual engagement with our help center has skyrocketed, and the amount of chats have decreased. And you could
Right.
say maybe that's a good or bad thing, but we're giving people the option right away, like, which one do you want to choose? And people are choosing to, like, well, maybe I can find the answer on my own. Look, they're saying people are very introverted these days, and want to kind of find things on their own, and that's why they're going on your website instead of calling and talking to a person.
Yeah.
The whole big scary millennial thing, don't want to deal with people, that thing. And
Sure.
there's some truth to that. Or if I'm maybe you're at work and you can't carry on, but you can sit there and search. So
Mm-hmm.
we on the website, we want to give them both options, like the bot or the
Right.
person. And what a lot of these different programs are doing too, give you like multiple choice for your client, like,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the old terrible phone thing. If you want to talk to sales, press 1 or whatever.
Right.
It's like that, except obviously it's very customized. Your
I'm like
question.
mashing on the 0, like,
Yeah, me
I
too.
hate
Yeah.
you. Stop.
In fact, I think I just did that with Comcast the other day.
Did you? Oh, good
Just
luck on
0.
that one.
Yeah.
Enter your account number. Really? Because I don't know what my account number is.
But yeah, conversational marketing is great if you can do it the right way. I think people don't want to be. I think number one no is people don't want you to try to trick them into thinking a bot's a real person. Don't do that. I think at the beginning of the kind of wave of bots, people are really saying, well, how can we make them think this is a real person? And that's just almost never going to work. And what's the point? So have some fun with it. Make a,
Yeah.
hi, I'm the impact bot, and I'm here,
Right.
that kind of thing. And if you don't want to talk to me and you want to talk to a real person, click here. But if not, I'm fully capable of helping you, and have some fun answers, some good, it can take you hours and days to, like, keep writing all this. And one thing we watch too is, what are all the questions that get asked that don't trigger a response? Because now I'm going to go back and program those
Yeah.
every day. Oh, this didn't get picked up. Why didn't this get picked up? All right. Well, if someone asks this one random weird question ever again, which might never happen,
Right.
take the time to write the answer to it, because it could happen again. Why not? It takes
Right.
me 5 minutes. So,
Right.
so
And
just
then people
keeping,
feel like they're heard. If like, oh
yeah,
wow, like you actually have heard this question so many times that you've sort of make this program happen.
right. And this can help us, and again, to speak to the positive of bots in your conversational marketing, it helps you scale and help people quicker. Rather than, there's this one program a lot of B2B people use called Intercom, and it's awesome. It's a great program, but really the way it's designed is if you have a very mobile team and it says there's 5 people on here and someone will get back to you in 15 minutes. It's like, I don't want that. If I'm using
What? It says
yeah,
that? It says like 15 minutes?
it'll tell you what their average, like, reply time is, just like it would on Facebook
Oh,
Messenger. And,
geez.
like, there's a lot of these B2B companies, it's just a couple people working for the company. And it's like, well, why have to chat then? Just say, send me a message here, and I'll wait for an email back in 10 minutes, right? Like,
Right.
if I'm chatting, it's because I want the answer now. So
Now.
what we found is, like, either all my agents are busy because it's peak time. Okay, maybe hire another agent, but or if it's the middle of the night and someone's on our website and they want an answer, well, let's at least, like, guide them through if we have nobody to speak to them. So that's where we've kind of arrived at now, is having that combination of real live conversations and bots,
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of this company called Qualified.
Mhm.
and they're doing this sort of chat thing for like Pardot Salesforce. And that's what I do, obviously.
Yeah,
So
yes.
I'm like, let's talk. And they had said that same phrase where it's like, bots can't sell and humans can't scale. It's the intersection of those two. It's not like one or the other. You can't be waiting 15 minutes to talk to the human. You can't be, getting tricked into talking to bot and then being frustrated. The right people need to talk to the right human at the right time, that kind of thing. And so you're right. Like, it only showed the chat to the people that you want to show it to. Or if you're not available and not ready, show them the bot path that doesn't have the human path, or just don't show it at all. But yeah, being really mindful about what kind of experience people are going through.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think having different paths for people to go down based on what they want is always, just like we talked about with other
Yeah.
people, want to email, they want to text, they want to read my postcard. I want to give them every avenue. The problem is if you give them too many options, they can get confused. So you got to make sure it's very clear how they're going to find their information.
True.
And changing that message based on how they want to receive and communicate. So because for me, if I'm not ready to buy, I might not want to talk to a person because I don't want to be sold. Right.
Yeah.
So that's where the help center comes. So what we've done with the chat, we actually use Help Scout. I really, really love it. And what they do is it allows you to take your help center and put it into your chat. So they can, it's a searchable help center, but it's embedded in your chat. So they can type their question and then it'll show them all the different article answers. So you could do that too. Like, here's some great articles. And then my chat agents can also draw off that help center really easily. And again, have the best written answers for people. So if you just have a simple question and you're not really ready to buy yet, you might not want to, and you might be turned off by like, what do you mean I got to talk to a person? Like, I had like some silly little subscription to a program that I barely ever used, but I was testing it out and I wanted to cancel it the other day. And I went in my account to try to cancel it and they wouldn't let me do it. I physically had to talk to somebody on the phone to cancel my $10 a month. And I was like, you guys got to be kidding me. Like, it was the most, like, I didn't mind the program. I probably would have referred them, but like that experience kind of really turned me off from my $10 a month subscription. I had to talk to somebody on the phone. Is that even efficient for you?
Yeah.
Like,
Is that,
like, how do you make money like paying someone to talk to me, to try to talk me out of my $10 a month subscription? Like,
you're paying for that person and that's supposed to,
yeah,
decrease your churn somehow, but not in a good way. It's not fixing their problem. It's just making it hard for them to leave.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the whole like gym canceling writing kind of thing,
yeah. It's crazy.
Give me a break. This is, you brought up a great point when you've been chatting for 5+ years, like, just because it's kind of gotten in the forefront on the B2B world for me, doesn't mean we haven't been doing it for a while. And for sure, it's been going on. So it's another one of those places where I think it's important for marketers, especially as they adopt this in new territory like B2B, those kind of chats, to take lessons from the other companies who've been chatting nonstop for a decade. It's like,
Yeah.
it's don't reinvent the wheel, learn from what they have done and they haven't done. And, I guess one question I have is, who do you have doing the chatting? Do you need a special kind of person to chat?
Well, so it depends. We have to break it out into sales and support. And that gets kind of tricky on your website because you have some pages that are geared towards sales and some that are geared towards support, based depending on what your company is. And so we've really, with chat, you can transfer between agents, which is great, but I almost don't like it. I don't feel like it's great service. So we kind of had to
passed around.
Yeah, we had to cross train people to some degree, but at some point. So yeah, I mean, look, the same people I find that are good on the phone, just good customer service, customer support type people, are also good on chat. You just want to give that same good, personal experience of interacting with a real person, right? If you're chatting, that's what people want. They want to get their answers quickly, so they don't want to be told, "Hold on, I got to find a better answer for you," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they also, want to have that person-to-person experience too. So
That makes sense.
I like to hop on the chat myself because it's also a great place to get a good barometer of what your people are looking for. It's very easy to become disconnected if you're not having those like more even low-level conversations. When someone's on your site, you can realize, oh, wow, this page is confusing. If they couldn't find the answer, I thought it was right there, but this is the fifth person on this page that has asked, what is your pricing when they're on your pricing page? And you might be like, are they kidding me? Like, it's, that kind of thing, that kind of example. So,
it's like user data. I think we avoid talking to our customers so much that even that can be helpful just to know. what they're
For
looking
sure.
for,
Yeah.
where they're confused. Um, it kind of begs the question: do you interview these people like on chat for a chat position?
No, that's a good idea though.
Wouldn't that
I
be?
guess maybe we do a little bit. Yeah, sometimes. I was saying, yeah, because sometimes we're messaging with them ahead of time to set up the interview. But yeah, no, that's a great idea. No, we never thought of that. Like, let's
Because
get on chat and have a chat interview.
yeah, because as I'm thinking about that, people can type, but I think back to my old AOL days when you were just building friendships with people on random chat rooms around
Yeah, yeah,
soccer or something. There's the emoticons, do a little smiley, and you can kind of you can show your energy in a chat, whether you're like pissed that you're there, whether you're put out, whether you're just basically it might as well be a robot because you're so unenergetic, or you're like happy to answer their question, and can joke around and have fun. And I've always appreciated that when people are like, hey, I'm always like nice to them, like whether they're in India or some other place doing the chat or like
yeah, yeah.
wherever. I'm like, hi, smiley face, brighten up your day. But yeah, to have that kind of an extra chat, level, then it just seems like so much more effective, more human.
Yeah, right on. That's such a good point. Like back in phone sales days, which we don't do much of anymore, it's,
Right.
you got to have a smile on your face when you're on the phone. People can hear a
Yeah.
smile. It's the same goes for chatting. So we do, in weekly, training / meetings, we always talk about tone, because
Okay.
tone can be misread so easily on chat or email. Anything written out, tone could be misread these days. And, the average, 20 to 30 something has grown up on the concept of messaging,
Yeah.
even for us, right? Like back to the days of AOL, our formative days are like, everybody's texting, so you could get used to being short and talking with your buddies. Again, just like an email, I think your chat should be like, kind of like talking to you got to be professional, but
Yep.
like you said, talking to your friend, we talk about, dropping a smiley face at the end of a
Yeah.
sentence, just because read it and then read it again with the smiley face. Like, how did the tone change? Because it could come across one way or another,
Right.
based on adding a silly little emoji that, some of us might roll our eyes at, but it really helps with the tone of the
Yeah.
conversation when it comes to chat.
Especially
Because,
for like the younger of us that have sort of grown up around that, where maybe we grew up expressing ourselves through there. I mean, even exclamation point of like
yeah,
hello versus hello, like there's like two different things. But if you just type hello without that exclamation point or a smiley, I think monotone.
yeah, my aunt will kill me if she's watching this, because she's not old, but she's a little older than me. And she's like, I don't understand all these millennials in their emails. They're always using exclamation marks where they don't read them. And
Ah,
and I'm just like, yeah, yeah, sure. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, that's me. Like, because yeah, you're
yeah,
right. It just, again, she's like, you didn't need to send the exclamation mark. And I'm like, well, I did. Like when I say hi with an exclamation, it's way different than just hi, or
yeah,
hello, or, yeah, very good point. Like and I think some of us have gotten so accustomed to it that you forget. And that's why, so speaking about staff, right, we'll go through on the meeting in front of everybody in a very, I hate calling people out, but we do it in a very like positive way, where we'll go through some real chats and be like, oh,
yeah.
here's a challenge somebody has. Does anybody have any recommendations? Or, and you usually with most chat programs, you can get feedback from clients where they say, this was a great chat, this was not a
Oh,
good chat, or whatever.
oh,
So we'll go through all the great ones,
love that.
a couple bad ones and then a couple great ones, and really look about how did this tone read, how did that read, and just reading through, again, just like if, rereading a paper before you turn it in, like we don't have time to do that on a chat or maybe even an email, but we do have time to like go back in time and read it and say like, how did this chat go? How could it have gone differently? And talking about best answers, we'll go through all those chats people had and said, okay, here's the best answer. I want everybody to give this answer like this, and then
Yeah,
repeat it. Like we have a couple that we joke about around here, that like, because I've repeated it so many times, it's crazy. But we talk about so-and-so smiley face. Don't forget that smiley face. Like,
yeah.
so good point.
So smiley face. What are some of your secret tips then? Like smiley face, tone. What are some of the things you have them say over and over again?
Oh, well, some of the things over and over again are very specific to our question.
Sure,
So,
sure.
we're a nationwide company, right? And selling a product that's very location specific. So a lot of times people will say, where are you located? And so when we say we're in New Hampshire, people will just click off the chat because they're like, well, I'm in California. You can't help me. So
Oh, yeah,
I've
yeah,
had to
yeah.
repeatedly tell people, look, when they're asking this, that's not what they mean. They don't really care where you're sitting right now. They care,
Right.
can you service, my event? So for us, I had to teach everybody when they ask that, that's not really what they're asking. Don't answer the question. Say, we cover most areas. Where will your event be? And start the conversation that way. And if they say like, well, my event's in California, but where are you? Okay, then tell them where you are. Like, but that happens never. So it's taking those, like, you look at like the most commonly asked questions, which again, like our help center is really cool about. It'll show you like, here's the top 10 questions that people click on. Let's keep repeating those best answers. And I want you guys to memorize these answers that I've typed out. So when someone asks it live, you can answer it the same way as what's in our help center, and
I love that. Yeah. Being aware of the top 10 most asked questions. So if you're answering them the way that it's like, we've crafted this with experience. We know that this is the best way to answer that. It happens to us all the time with Pardot and questions like that. Oftentimes people migrating from one tool onto Pardot. And one of the questions we always get is like, what moves over or what doesn't move over? And there's a particular way to answer that question that gets everything moving forward. If you answer it wrong, then people kind of come to a halt. So it's like getting that answer into the hands of everyone so they understand what to say. And I also love that understanding the question under the question. You're kind of letting your team know that just because they ask this, they're not, chances are they're not actually saying like, hey, where you at? Remember the old ASL from online chat was like age, sex, location.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm 16, male in New Hampshire. What's up? How's it going? Like, no, they're not asking you that. They're not asking if you're in drivable distance for a relationship. They're trying to see if you can service their wedding. Like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just one of those questions that in the industry people are like, you're used to asking. Because even if you're like, let's say in New Hampshire and they're based in Boston, they might not even come to that. But yeah, you think I need somebody in Boston, and it's like, well, not necessarily. So yeah, it's understanding the question below the question. And man, you just made me think of something, and it escaped me. But
it'll come back.
Oh well, no, about the top, FAQs, just going over and over again, because people are always asking the same questions. So you just got to keep going through that training process. And so a conversation conversational marketing is based on continuing the conversation until your desired goal, whether it's a purchase or solving their problem, right? So you never want to just like give closed-ended answers. Like, so back to that example, we're in New Hampshire. Well, how does that continue a conversation? Like, is that how you and I are talking right now? You ask me, I give you a 2-word answer, and like, so you want to like continue the conversation. Like, I know a general rule is don't answer a question with a question, but answer their question and maybe, ask them a question back and continue the conversation, and that's got to be a goal on your chat. And if you're not doing it, again, it's about engagement, just like with an email, right? Like, we talked about on the Lost podcast, like, answer their question that they asked you in email, but ask them a question back and keep the conversation moving towards your desired goal. And so the same's really got to be true with chats, but it's got to happen quickly. You got to be on your feet and understand that process.
I think that was one of the coolest things I've heard around conversational marketing. And it takes someone like you who has feet in the B2B, the considered sale, as well as feet in that more retail, like purchase side, where conversational marketing is all about continuing the conversation until you reach the goal. I love that, because you're right. Like, if there's a purpose to this thing, and the goal might be a purchase, right? If it's one, or it might be solving their problem or educating them to be able to make the right step so they can become a lead and talk to sales or whatever the case may be. That's the goal, and not just sort of cutting it off with this sort of staccato, like, yes, no. Like that's not the point. But you need to know the goal before you can like optimize anything else. Is to understand where you're trying to get people to.
Yeah, so it can be tricky, like you said. Where are you finding these chat people? And like they got to be good sales or good support people in general. You can't just have like, I'm going to hire somebody to sit down here and answer questions and look up the answers and give them back to them. Like, that's not going to work. Why do that?
Right.
You might as well just not have chat if you're going to, that's another thing we've talked about. Like, if you have people on chat giving bad answers, it's almost worse than if you just didn't have chat at all. Like, they might have found their answer on your website. So be careful. Like, don't just throw it on there and think you're doing some wonderful thing. If you can't have a good person on there, then you might be doing more damage than good. And I've experienced that for sure. So
bad chat is worse than no chat.
Yeah. So you want to make sure you have good chat. representatives, and you want to get them as close to doing what you, just like in the day of phone sales, right? You were probably your best phone salesperson, and your goal is to get everybody to do what you're doing. So the same goes with chat.
Yeah.
And even if it's solving their problem, again, like if you, let's say you have a client that comes on and they're frustrated with something, you don't want to make them more frustrated because you just have someone on there that can't answer their questions. So they've come on your website looking for answers because they wanted a quick, efficient answer to their question. So you get, that's where I think, again, you can bring the bots back in because, or at least like pointing people towards help documents, because at least you can get them to the answer you want to give them if they can find it. So
right. I wonder if this, when we talked about AdWords last time and just the understanding of those things, Google, the benefit of Google is there's intent. You go to Google to search for something, you have a question, problem, challenge, something, and you're seeking an answer. When you do chat, you're kind of seeking something as well. Like, at least we know that if they're clicking that thing, they have some kind of goal in mind.
Chat's not a passive, action. Whereas, very good. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not
passive. They just sort of rolled onto your site. You're giving them a little back massage, and then they kind of roll off your site. No, they're like, I have a question. Like for me, it was like, how much is this thing? Is it even worth me considering? That was my underlying question, and I found out it's not really worth me considering. but I got it answered, so I felt good about that chat.
It's almost a buying signal, right? When someone chats, they're taking an action. So you might like this. I had a theory for years that most people would disagree with. Is I had an open chat, meaning I didn't require them to give us any information to start chatting, because my theory was like, hey man, you want to talk to us? Let's talk.
Right.
And then again and again, everybody says, no, your chat's a lead gen. You want to at least ask them for their email. And then, on top of that, people say, well, you want to get their email so you can follow up with them. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the kind of person, sometimes I just want an answer, and like, I don't want to end up on your spam list. I'm not going to give you my email. But then somebody that works for me, she brought up a great point when we were really considering moving to a different program where they required that you get the email. I'm like, oh, that's really the only sticking point. They have so many great things, but I don't want to require that because I thought it was such a big part about what we do. And she's like, you know what? If they weren't serious about buying from you, they're going to give, if they are serious about buying from you in any kind of way, they're going to give you your email. If they're not serious at all, and they just say, like, if they don't want to end up on your email list, then they're probably never going to buy from you anyway. And I thought there was some insight to that, where I still, would disagree to some extent, where I just want to have this open area of chat. I don't want to force them to go through any barrier to get to it. On the other hand, if someone doesn't want to give you something as simple as their email, they might not be very serious, in that process too. So we give them both options. They can get around the giving the email, but at least we present it now at this point, just to say, like, because again, there's many benefits. So when we're done with the chat, we send an email over with the transcript, right? But we also say, like, hey, we covered these areas, but if you want to pick up the conversation, just email me back. We'd love to like help you out. And now you've taken that conversation and continued it. Whereas if you didn't grab any information, that's it. They've left your site and, maybe left their top of mind. But now we can send this nice worded email, asking them another, continuing that conversation down the path we want it to go. So. And we could customize that based upon the chat. If there's a real agent on there, they can write a nice note. Hey, it was so great talking to you today.
Right.
I'm here for you always. So now you're moving them into that other medium. So,
it's tricky, right? Because as a marketer, you're like, you want to capture that follow up. Yeah. I feel you on that initial gut that you had was just like, let people ask their question.
Yeah.
And then I also get the sense of, if they're serious or not, or what. But there's something about email and it's like people give us their email on forms in exchange for something really good, right? Not really good, but like good enough that I'll deal with unsubscribing or deleting your emails a couple times in order to get this case study or white paper or access to something. But when it's a chat, I think about the barter. Like, what do I get in return for the email, right? So early on, I was like, thinking about my recent thing with that SaaS company where I wanted pricing, and thankfully they were able to answer my question without email. I think they asked for it at the end, and I was like, bye.
Well, but on the other hand, it's like, it's how you present it to them, not just like, give me your name and email to start the chat. Like if you just have it like a form, that doesn't work. We do it in the form of a question. So the bot is actually asking, hey, great, we want to chat with you. What's your email address in case we get disconnected? We want to pick up the conversation. We don't want you to feel like we forgot about you. So just crafting. And so it's not even a form.
Yes.
So it's less intrusive. It's less, less obvious of like, this is just a form. They just want my information. It's a question. And then they have to answer with their email. And then if they don't answer, it'll pick up the email obviously and
Right.
pass it along to our system. So,
Well, it's a good point.
I find like that works very well. It doesn't seem invasive. And it seems like, again, we care. We want to follow up with you. We want to continue the conversation. If we
Right.
lose you, we don't, just like when you call customer support, they're like, well, what's your phone number in case I lose you? I want to call you back. Cause how many times have you been in like a half an hour conversation with support on something and you get disconnected and then you got to call back and talk to some new rep. So like, I'm always
That's
like, yeah,
true.
here's my number. Take it. Cause if we get lost, I want to make sure you call me right back. I don't want to start over again. Like,
That's true. That can be really frustrating and start the whole convo over, not have a log of anything.
yeah.
So what I got from that was like, what's in it for me? As long as we're explaining what they get in exchange for this email, bypassing future conversations, that sounds like worth it. And then also that what you mentioned about the transcript, like that's interesting too. If this person on this chat had said, hey, would you like a transcript of this chat? All I need is your email. Don't worry, I'm not gonna spam you. Before or after, I might have done that to get a record of like, oh, here's some cost data so I can take it with me. Or I think about, I had said it was actually said in the chat, wow, that seems pricey. It was something like $500 a
Yeah.
month. And I was like, oh, I was thinking like $20 a month. Maybe it's worth a roll the dice, but no, 500, that's like, now you're serious. So I don't think I want to just, shoot from the hip on 500. So I'm like, that's pricey. It's probably not my thing. If that person had been like, what's your email? If let me know your email, I'll let you know when there's a promo,
Yeah.
something like that. I'd be like, boom, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me
Right.
know.
Exactly.
Shoot me a note. Like if you're going to do a holiday promotion, like I even asked, hey, is there a holiday promotion? But like, shoot me an email then. I would have been like, oh, that's helpful for me. Here's my email. As opposed to just, I'm only serving myself and trying to create lead gen here. What's your email?
Well, the other nice thing too is if you pick up their name and email, obviously you're tracking their IP address. So the next time they come back to your website, you're not asking them again, and you can pop up and say,
that's true.
"Hey Keith, I see you're back. Did you need any more help?" And give that more personal touch.
Yeah.
Which again, you can some people would have said like, "Oh, that sounds creepy," but people are the people are expecting this more personal interaction with your website these days. Just like you wouldn't send an email, hello friends, like that's a spam, right? When you send an email, you clearly have the person's name. So you want to use that merge field and say, hello, Casey, I wanted to tell you. So people expect that you're using their name and interacting and not forgetting who they are the next time they come to your site. And, I've been surprised too, where like people will come on the chat, when we don't collect name and email, and they're like chatting with me like I knew their whole history. And I was like, well, hold on a second. I don't even, in order for me to help you, I need to know your name and email. Like they just start chatting as if like they expected that their chat just picked up from the same chat a month ago. Like people are expecting this technology now. So we have to like, kind of be into that. I've changed my mind on that. For a while I felt like I was all alone in the like, don't ask for name. Everybody looked at me like I was crazy, but my gut just, as a consumer myself, just like you said, well, what am I getting for this? My question is so low level. I don't need to get spammed over. I don't have time for that. I'm not going to chat, but,
and I do like your idea of giving them the option.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but if you do, then you just follow down a different path. Like these people are just doing a little anonymous chat. They're probably either not super serious to your team members, point of view. Hey, maybe they're not that far along in that sales process. Like I was super early. I don't want even that yet. But if I was further along and I was comparing you versus someone else, I might be like, here's my email, send me the best thing you can do.
Yeah. And I think if you want to talk to a real person, you're probably a little more serious. If you're not very serious, you probably could search the help center and get what you need, I would think. So
well, I mean,
if you have a good help center,
that's a question. Like, what was I think it's I don't know if it's DISC or one of those personality tests, but the idea of if you're big into facts, some people like getting their facts from people. Some people like getting their facts from things, right? Maybe that's an introvert, extrovert tied into like your fact finding. Like, and so for me, I like getting my facts from people. because I get to talk to a person and I get to learn something. Like, it's great. Some people are like, no, I don't want to talk
Yeah.
to this person. Is there a way that I can get this information and not have to not have to, because for some people, if they're not all about other people, the more introverted kind of thing, it like takes energy to talk to someone, as opposed to,
Yeah.
for me, I get energy from talking to that poor person at that SaaS company, right? So, but yeah, to your point, like, give them the option. Hey, just want to get that, go deep on that help center, go for it.
Yeah, right. So we give them both options within the chat.
Yeah.
You could do it this way, or you can talk to a real person. I'll give you a great example too. Like recently, of how not to do it is, I was looking into prices of an expo, and
Okay.
I go on their website. They don't have any prices, which I get why some people don't do, but I think it's a mistake.
Not for an
Put your
expo. Come
prices
on.
on your
Put
website.
it out there.
So, they had a little like ask us button. I'm like, oh, great, a chat. Wasn't a chat, just a form. Wanted me to put in my question. So I put in my question,
It's annoying.
and I get an email back 4 days later. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't get an email back. That's what I wanted. I get a phone call. I don't answer it because I didn't recognize the number. It goes to my voicemail. And some guy saying, hey, I'd love to talk to you about pricing and what we do at our expo. I'm like, hey, I know what you do at your expo. My message said I wanted pricing. And I sent a message because I just wanted it in an email. Instead, now you're calling me. I could have called you. Your phone number was right there on the website. I didn't want to call because I know what your thing is. I just want the price. Like, that's all I wanted. So that's like what not to do. Like you said, like, if I'm sending an email or a message, I want an email or a message back. I don't want you to just ignore that and pick up the phone and call me, so I was just super annoyed by that. And like, anytime something like that happens, I just keep it in mind. Like, this is how I don't want to do that to people, So if they come on my chat website and they want to chat, let's chat. And like, and if we want to follow up with that chat with a phone call a few days later, we can do that. But, don't just ignore how I came through, So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. I wondered, have you ever sent an email inviting someone to a chat?
So we do, actually. So we have links in most of our emails, or some of our emails. Because again, you want to be careful in your emails about having too many different links to different URLs that don't match your email address, right? So, if you're CheshireImpact.com, you want to make sure you're landing them on Chess. So, invite them to chat, but make sure wherever you're landing them is going to pop up with the chat, and it has that same URL. So like, occasionally I'll invite them to chat on Facebook, but I'm careful about it. Because the nice thing, we didn't even get off on that. Nice thing about Facebook Messenger is you can always continue that anytime. They didn't leave that because Messenger's always open, right? So that's a whole different category. But yeah, so that is, we say, hey, if you have any questions, feel free to reply to this email, give us a call, or chat here. So we want to give them all three of those options, and sometimes, or send us a Facebook message. And we do get a lot of people that click that and start that Facebook Messenger, because I know, like, so we have, a lot of people that work for us that are in their, low 20s, 23, 24 years old. And I'm surprised to see they're not even texting. They're using Facebook Messenger more than they are using text messaging. Or, we give them that option in the email too. Or click here to shoot us a text message if you're on your cell phone. But so, I do want to present all those different ways for people to chat with us, and considering your clientele, obviously your demographic too, right? So my demographic happens to be a 28-year-old female most of the time. So we have to look at that. If you're B2B, I mean, you could be all over the place, right?
Could be.
So,
but kind of meeting them where they're at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then some people will be like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do all this. I can't monitor my text and my chat and my Facebook Messenger. And there's a lot of great programs that'll tie all that in too. Where you can get them all on one platform. Like a lot of text platforms or chat platforms will now you could bring in your Facebook messaging right into the same platform. So you're doing all of that in the same place. So you might be Facebook messaging with them, but you're on the same dashboard that you do, like texting with them or whatever. So you can find solutions to that. But I don't know about you, but as a digital marketer, I have like 10 tabs open at any given time. So just get used to it. That's what I say. Like,
true.
Someone wants to come
alert you, like, hey, we got someone talking.
That's right. Yeah. So
that's for sure. I remember back in the old days of like AOL Instant Messenger, there was this thing called Pigeon, and it would let me do like Yahoo Messenger and AOL Instant Messenger and like, Skype or some other things where they all be on one platform, so I could just type responses, and that was pretty efficient. So I could see the benefit of, if you do have lots of channels, especially Facebook Messenger and all these things, just being able to have your team, like, maybe you can click through tabs, but like to have your team just sitting there being able to address a single window might be
Right.
helpful.
Yeah. So there are ways to do that for the most part, but
Sick, man.
yeah,
Man, who would have thought we have all this stuff to talk about with conversational marketing?
I know,
But
right? How long have we
goes.
gone? Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah, time flies, right? I
Yeah.
know. Seriously, we're almost Joe Rogan here. Just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little bit less, a little bit less. Where does this go?
What's that? What do you mean specifically?
Conversational marketing. Like, do you
Oh,
see
yeah.
this?
Well, so I mean, I was really taken back. I mean, I get it. Facebook's trying to, not get spammed, right? I was that really hurt, like because that was going some great places with like being able to set up, automated campaigns with the Facebook Messenger, and
Yeah.
they about August 15th they kind of cut back. Like there's only certain types of things you could send after 24 hours. So that was kind of a bummer because I was really going into a nice place. Because like I said, Facebook Messenger is always available, and
Yeah.
you don't see that many people doing it, but there is still a lot of opportunity there. I think a lot of people, we're talking about the rise of the bots, and I think, bots have come up, and just as fast as everybody got excited, have realized, oh, well, we need to pare this back and, have that 50-50 mix. And there's a really great way to do that. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I think there's a lot of opportunity for, just being able to be people again. Everybody's always afraid of like, oh, we're going in this world of bots, but I think it's just allowing us to start real conversations and be available to people. And as long as you're always treating people like they're people, conversational marketing, whether it's bots or people, is the best way to do business, because you're able to communicate with multiple people at once.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on the phone, you're talking to a person and that's it. So if you can have a conversation with 3 or 4 people and give them the same kind of attention at once and be able to serve your clients' needs, we live in an instant gratification world. So we have to be available to give people what they want right away.
Yeah. It reminded me, what you're talking about, like buddy of mine, Ethan from Bomb was like humanize your marketing. I think, right. We all went like tech hardcore, and now we're like, nah, I kind of just want to talk to another person or just be treated like a person. So it's kind of like tech is like, yeah, but we could be completely AI. And you're like, yeah, that's nice, but you can run my power grid. I'd rather just talk to a person,
Well, I think we get shiny thing syndrome, right? As marketers, we're like, oh, wow, I could do this now. And you get all excited, and then you get into it and you're like, all right, well, but we still need to be people, like, robocalls and, technology's there, but it's not always the best option. But so you got to look at the technology and say, how can I make, right? Like, so we use robocalls as a bad example for not for selling people stuff, because I think that's awful. I hate getting
I think so too. That's like the devil.
It's
Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, but you could take that same technology and use it for something good, like a reminder, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't need to pick up the phone and tell somebody like, hey, your product's ready. I sent you an email about it, whatever. Like they just maybe want to look at their voicemail transcript and be like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's ready. And it's something I recorded myself. And like, so there's opportunity for that kind of thing. So same thing with the chat, like, or like a chat bot. Like if you just set up a bot and let it run and think you never have to talk to another person, you're probably wrong. I mean,
you're probably chasing people away at that point.
Yeah. So.
Well, sweet, man. This has been fun, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back.
What's that?
I said, thanks for having me back. This is great.
Yeah, we'll have to do this. We'll have to keep going as long as people keep listening, right? Even if they don't listen, whatever. We'll just keep chatting.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah, right. But no, I think sometimes it can be fun when you get somebody back on, you throw out the agenda, and you just talking about whatever, or topics that are kind of at the tops of our minds right now.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. Well, hey, where can people connect with you? Throw those LinkedIn, those things out there, but also, definitely pitch Classic too. So get the word out about that for people listening.
Yeah. So our website's classicphotographers.com. We do, wedding and event photography. So check that out. You can find me on LinkedIn, Keith Phillips on LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll find me, Facebook, Instagram, for all, any social media, you name it, we're there. So
totally. Yeah. So hit you up for, insights into all these things we've been talking about. Classic Photographers, like, you're not a sponsor, but like my wedding was with Classic Photographers. And that question you asked earlier, where are you? You're everywhere, right? We're in New Hampshire right now, but those services go for, North America Anywhere
Yeah,
else?
North
Or?
America and England, actually. Yeah.
Okay, England. Okay, we got
Yeah.
some listeners in England. So
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I appreciate the plug. Thanks.
yeah, sure, man. Anytime, man.
Yeah.
For sure. If you're doing a comedy show, I'd plug that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Awesome.
sweet. Well, hey, thanks for coming on here, and I'm sure we'll check in soon.
All right. Thanks, Casey. Have a good day.
Awesome. And for everyone out there listening, if you learned something, and I know you did, because I literally have 2 pages and I ran out of space and started drawing sideways.
Same.
Especially around deliverability, checking out those open numbers, total opens, and also conversational marketing. This is not going away. We're getting more humanized here. Good stuff. So share this. If you learned something, share this episode with someone else, one other person, so they can learn from this. And you can be a thought leader that way. So awesome. Keith,
Cool.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. For everyone out there listening, it's been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We'll catch y'all next time. All right. A big thank you to today's sponsors. Cheshire Impact, helping marketers and sales win, maximizing the use of Pardot and Salesforce. And a big thank you to Qualified.com, the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Remember the giveaway. If you have Salesforce Pardot and you want a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, then you go over to Qualified.com, engage in a chat, do a demo, and tell them that Casey sent you, and that book will be on its way to your door. All right. We'll see y'all in the next one.